So, have you ever had a friend who was always there, right up until the exact moment you actually needed them? Someone who was all smiles to your face, but then just completely ghosted you the second your life got messy? If you're nodding along right now, look, I completely validate that pain. It really hurts. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Not everyone who calls you a friend actually wants the best for you. Some people are just sticking around, not because they value who you are, but simply because of what they can get out of you.
All right, let's jump right into this explainer and unpack the psychology behind fake friends. We're going to go over 7 signs someone is secretly using you. Because the really tricky part here, these transactional relationships almost never start with obvious red flags. They creep up on you. By the time you finally notice the pattern, you've already invested a ton of your time and emotional energy. So let's figure out how to spot them early.
Let's start with a classic real-world scenario. Picture this. You get a text or a call from someone you literally haven't heard from in weeks. They sound super excited, really friendly, and you're genuinely glad they reached out. But then, about 3 minutes in, the shoe drops. They need a favor, a ride to the airport, maybe a quick loan. You help them out, of course, because you're a good friend. And then, crickets. Total silence until they need you again. That is sign number 1 right there. It's so incredibly easy to confuse someone needing your help with someone actually caring about you.
So let's group these early warning signs into our first archetype. The takers.
Look at the clear contrast on this slide. It totally highlights the difference between a healthy conversation and one that's completely transactional. Real friends, they check in just to see how your day is going or to share a random joke. But with fake friends, every single interaction eventually pivots to them asking for something. If a relationship is just a never-ending series of one-sided favors, it's based on usefulness, not connection. Honestly, ask yourself, if you stop doing favors for them tomorrow, would they still be calling you?
That brings us to sign number 2, which is all about a concept psychologists call social support. This is a massive indicator of genuine connection. Because, let's be real for a second, anyone can pop a bottle of champagne and celebrate with you when life is easy. But when things get hard, that's what reveals someone's true intentions. True friends offer actual social support. They show up, they lend an ear, and they make sure you don't feel alone in the trenches.
And here's how that plays out in the real world. Let's say you just lost your job or you're going through a bad breakup. Suddenly, your so-called friend is just too busy to hang out. They avoid the heavy, difficult conversations like the plague. Yet magically, a month later when they need help moving, their schedule is wide open. Listen, friendship isn't about who you laugh with. It's about who stands beside you when the laughter stops.
All right, moving on to our second archetype, the saboteurs.
These folks are way more insidious than the takers. This introduces our third sign, driven by what psychologists call social comparison. Now sure, everyone compares themselves to others from time to time, but fake friends? They view your success as a personal threat. When you level up in life, they don't feel inspired. They secretly feel deeply uncomfortable because it shines a giant spotlight right on their own insecurities. Think about the sting of this scenario. You finally land that dream promotion, or you buy a new car, and you excitedly tell your friend. A real friend goes, "Yes, I'm so proud of you." But a fake friend? You get this awkward, cold reaction. They immediately pivot and start talking about something great they just did. It's subtle, but over time, that invisible competition completely poisons the friendship. Which leads directly to sign number 4, belittling behavior. This is a classic, textbook tactic used by deeply insecure people. They basically try to chop you down at the knees so they can feel taller. And the really manipulative part is that they almost never throw a direct insult. Instead, they wrap their cruelty up in a joke. I am willing to bet you've heard this exact line before. Relax. I was only kidding. You're way too sensitive. Can't you take a joke? If you have someone in your life who constantly takes jabs at your parents, your goals, or your intelligence, and then immediately hides behind that excuse, no. Actually, scratch that. It's not a joke. They are actively sabotaging your self-esteem. Real friends build you up. They absolutely never make you question your worth.
And this hits the nail on the head for our 5th sign. Saboteurs will always minimize your wins. Imagine working your tail off for years. You finally hit your goal and they just shrug and go, "Wow, you got really lucky." Or, "Let's see if it actually lasts." They minimize it because your hard work is a painful reminder of the risks they were too scared to take. Never, ever feel guilty for succeeding.
Okay, that brings us to archetype number 3, the manipulators.
Sign number 6 is guilt manipulation. This is a huge red flag.
It happens when a friend treats your boundaries, specifically when you say no, not as a boundary to be respected, but as a challenge they need to break down. They weaponize your own empathy against you to control your decisions.
Here's the real-world playbook for this one. You tell them you can't help out this weekend because you just really need to rest. Instantly, you're hit with, wow, I guess I just can't count on you anymore. After everything I've done for you. Boom. Manufactured guilt trip. If saying no makes you feel like you're committing a crime, you're dealing with a manipulator. A true friend respects your no without the emotional blackmail.
Sign number 7 is probably the most visceral one of the whole shebang. Your body usually detects toxic people way before your brain catches up. Check out this breakdown. Pay close attention to how you physically feel after hanging out with someone. Do you leave feeling energized, or are you completely exhausted, feeling judged, and just emotionally heavy? If you feel drained after every single coffee date with them, your gut is literally screaming at you to pay attention.
We all know someone like this, the classic energy vampire. The friend who constantly complains, gossips about everyone, and just seems to drag a dark cloud of drama wherever they go. It's infectious, and not in a good way. A genuine friend brings peace. A fake friend brings relentless chaos that will, for sure, drag your own mental health down with it.
All right, so how do we fix this? Let's talk about setting healthy boundaries.
Knowing the signs is just half the battle. Now we need to protect your peace. And let me be crystal clear. Doing this is absolutely necessary, not selfish. Here are your actionable steps. Step 1, get comfortable saying no. Step 2, stop over-explaining yourself. No is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone a dissertation on why you're busy. And step 3, protect your time. The people who genuinely belong in your life will respect your boundaries from day one. You shouldn't have to fight for their respect.
And here's a lesson most of us learn way too late. Holding on to the wrong people doesn't make you a loyal person. It just blocks the right people from entering your life. Just like this quote says, friendship is absolutely not a numbers game. It's entirely about how safe and understood you feel. Trust me on this. One solid, genuine friend is worth 100 fake ones every single time.
So I want to leave you with this to chew on. Think about your own inner circle. Have you ever suddenly realized someone was a fake friend? Looking back now, what was that very first red flag you noticed but maybe brushed under the rug? The quality of your life is deeply, fundamentally shaped by the people you surround yourself with. So choose them wisely, guard your energy, and please, never settle for a transactional friendship.